The first thing they noticed about Aisha Khan wasn't her credentials. It was her face. Too young, too soft, too calm for the chaos of St. Mary's General Hospital. On her first day in the emergency department, the senior nurses gave her polite smiles that didn't quite reach their eyes. The residents whispered when she walked by. One of them, Dr. Harris, chuckled openly. "Rookie nurse," he muttered, flipping through a chart. "Let's hope she doesn't faint at the sight of real trauma." Aisha heard it. She heard all of it, but she didn't react. She simply tied her hair tighter, adjusted her gloves, and stepped into Trauma Bay 3, where a car accident victim was being rushed in. The ER was a battlefield that night. Sirens screamed outside, stretchers rolled in with broken bones, blood-soaked shirts, panicked relatives. Aisha moved quietly but precisely, checking vitals, inserting IV lines in one smooth motion, calling out blood pressure readings without hesitation. When a patient's oxygen level dropped suddenly, she adjusted the ventilator settings before the respiratory tech even reached the bed. Dr. Harris blinked. "Who showed you that?" She didn't answer. She just moved to the next patient. By midnight, she had handled more critical cases than some nurses did in weeks, but the whispers didn't stop. "She probably memorized textbooks," someone said in the break room. "Experience is different," another replied. Aisha sat alone, sipping water, her expression unreadable. On her locker door was a small, nearly faded sticker, a green falcon insignia. No one paid attention to it. 2 nights later, everything changed. The hospital received a high-priority alert. An unmarked military vehicle was on its way with a severely injured operative. No press, no police reports. Confidential clearance required. The patient had sustained blast injuries during a classified overseas mission. The emergency department stiffened. Even Dr. Harris straightened his coat. When the vehicle arrived, armed escorts stepped out first. Then they brought in the patient, unconscious, shrapnel wounds across his torso, unstable vitals, heavy blood loss. The air shifted. This wasn't an ordinary trauma case. "Massive internal bleeding," one medic said. "We need surgical prep now." The lead surgeon was stuck in traffic, 10 minutes out. 10 minutes was too long. The patient's heart rhythm began to destabilize. Monitors beeped erratically. Panic rippled through the room. "Where's the surgeon?" "PP dropping. Prep for crash protocol." And then Aisha stepped forward. "Move," she said calmly. Not loudly, not aggressively, just certain. Dr. Harris frowned. "This isn't the time." "It's already past time," she replied. She assessed the wound pattern in seconds. "Shrapnel likely pierced the left hepatic vein. We don't have 10 minutes. The room froze. That was a surgical level assessment. "How do you—" "Clamp kit, now." There was something in her voice, authority carved by experience, not ego. The hesitation dissolved. Instruments were placed in her hands. With steady precision, she applied pressure, stabilized the bleed externally, and coordinated with anesthesia like she had done it 100 times before. Her instructions were crisp, controlled, tactical. She wasn't guessing, she knew. When the surgeon finally burst in, breathless, he stopped short. The patient's vitals were stabilizing. The bleeding was controlled. "Who did this?" he asked. Everyone slowly looked at Aisha. The surgery that followed was intense, but no longer desperate. 2 hours later, the operative was alive, critical, but stable. As the team removed their gloves, silence filled the operating room. Dr. Harris stared at her. "You've done combat trauma before." It wasn't a question. Aisha finally met his eyes. "Yes." Before anyone could ask more, 2 uniformed officers entered the hospital corridor. Not local military. Their insignia was different, discreet but unmistakable. One approached the nurse's station. "We're here for Lieutenant Aisha Khan." The room went still. Aisha stepped forward. "That's me." The officer nodded respectfully, not casually, not as one would to a junior staff member, but as one professional to another. "Ma'am, Special Operations Command extends their gratitude. The patient you treated is one of ours. We were informed of your intervention." Dr. Harris felt his stomach drop. The officer continued. "Your prior service record was flagged when we received the alert. We didn't realize you were stationed here." Whispers spread. "Prior service record?" Aisha exhaled slowly. "I requested reassignment to civilian medical care last year." The second officer spoke quietly. "With respect, ma'am, not many medics have your field history. 3 overseas deployments, lead combat trauma specialist. You trained half our current unit." The break room laughter from days ago echoed in the minds of everyone standing there. "Rookie nurse." Dr. Harris cleared his throat. "You were special ops?" "Medical division," she corrected gently. "But yes." Images began forming in their heads, not of the quiet young nurse tying her hair back, but of a battlefield medic under fire, stabilizing soldiers while explosions shook the ground. The calm they had mistaken for inexperience was something else entirely. It was discipline under pressure. The officer handed her a sealed envelope. Command wanted to formally request her consultation on an upcoming operation, off the record. She looked at the envelope for a long moment. Then she shook her head slightly. "I chose this hospital for a reason. I'm needed here."
There was no arrogance in her voice, just purpose. The officers exchanged a glance, then nodded. Understood. If you ever reconsider, the door remains open. They left as quietly as they had arrived. For the first time since she'd started, no one in the emergency department knew what to say. Dr. Harris finally stepped forward. His voice was different now. Why didn't you tell anyone? Aisha removed her surgical cap and placed it on the counter. Because titles don't save lives, skills do. The words settled heavily in the room. Over the next few weeks, the tone of the hospital shifted. There were no more whispers, no more smirks. Instead, when complex trauma cases came in, eyes turned to her instinctively, not because she demanded attention, but because she had earned trust in the most undeniable way possible. One evening, a new intern nervously prepared for his first critical case. His hands trembled slightly. The others watched, remembering their own first days. Aisha stepped beside him quietly. Breathe, she said. Focus on what's in front of you. Noise disappears when purpose is clear. He nodded. Were you ever scared? She smiled faintly. Every time. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving anyway. The intern didn't know the full story. Most patients never would. To them, she was simply Nurse Aisha. Calm, capable, present. But in a secured database somewhere, her name still carried weight in rooms far more dangerous than this hospital corridor. And the staff who once laughed? Now when they saw the Green Falcon insignia on her locker, they didn't see a sticker. They saw a reminder. Never underestimate the quiet ones. If you enjoyed this story and want more intense thrillers and suspenseful adventures, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with friends who love a good mystery. Your support helps me bring you more stories just like this one.